Hi there VC, it's Steve Whitty here, time for another video. In this video, I'm going to be showing some 45s that I've picked up 7-inch singles. I've been a bit of a kick recently, finding some 7-inch singles in charity shops, and I do like playing 45. There's something about them that takes you into a warm place, creates a bit of what's called fuzzy nostalgia with some of them. So without further ado, here is a black box full of 45. So I'm going to quickly go through them with you. So first up, Adam and Yance, Kings of the Wild Frontier. It was originally released in 1980. It didn't hit the top 40 at the time, but subsequent releases got in the top 10, and suddenly his star was on the rise, and they reissued this single, and I think this is a reissue in 1981, where it reached number 2. Something a little bit different. On the Columbia Blue label, you've got Laurel Aching with Rocksteady. It's a bit, as it says, it's Rocksteady ska from that period. Happy to pick that up in its nice blue Columbia label. Laurel Aching also recorded on Ireland at the points. Next up is Beach Boys Surfing USA. Just a classic single of that time. Some of these records will be on the more obscure side. So here we've got a band called Big Front Yard, and it's the single Money Go Round, and it's on the Rampant label, and I got a feeling there's the front of it. I get a feeling this might have been a local record label to the Birmingham Midlands area. So this on the DJM record is Big John's Rock and Roll Circus. Again, I know very little about it. The track is called Lady Put a Light on Me. There we go, on the DJM record label. Might have had something to do with Elton John, I don't know. Some classic rock and roll. Gary U.S. Bonds, Quarter to Three, on the Top Rank label. It's in the first part of his career, where he was popular in the UK as well. Obviously, in 1981, he had a renaissance with the Bruce Springsteen connection with the album Dedication. Next, Jim Capaldi, and it's All Up to You. And it's, as I say, Jim Capaldi, I've picked up a couple of his solo albums recently, so I'll say anything by him. And then play on words for the B-side, Whale Meet Again. This again looks like another local radio record label, Nest Recordings. This is Casino, a band called Casino Royale, and the song is called Come On Down to the Beach. Next, Clash, This Is England. This is the single that came from Cut the Crap album, which sort of like gets dismissed as a very poor album, where an album that gone too far. No Mick Jones in the band at the time. As a single, it's not too bad in itself. Again, next one. This is by the act called the CMJ Trio. They were a band based out of Worcester. Did a couple of releases. This is an EP on the Impression Records label. This in a picture sleeve could go for quite a bit of money. It's not in the greatest nick. That's why how come I ended up buying it. But it sounds good. It's sort of like typical 60s R&B pop of that era. This is Gary Curley and the single Return to Zero. This is released on the Dartek label. Again, I think a bit of a local act. No, not really heard of him before. This does sound typically 80s pop. It's nothing really to write home about. If you can ever say have an upgrade on a 7-inch single, this is the Doll Desire Me. This came out in '79. The Doll, obviously, it focuses on the guitarist. I'm trying to think who she called. There you go. So this is a double setless pack single. The original singles packed by back with the TV Addict. This was a minor hit single for them, and it was their biggest hit. It sort of disappeared pretty soon after. Released on Beggar's Banquet. Something I was quite surprised to see: Georgie Fame, Ever Loving Woman on the Island label. I didn't realise he'd recorded for them. This might be the only record he put out with them, and then backed up with that old rock and roll. Brian Ferry, The In Crowd. This is one of my favourite cover versions of all time. Again, on the Island label. There's something about a bit of menace about this way it builds up. But it's a great song. Found this. I'd already got a copy, but I found it in a picture sleeve, so I wasn't going to say no to that. Forget. Band from over here that did very well over there. This is the single Step Inside. It's a demonstration single. Released in 1974. As I said, Forget, a band from the UK, come out with Savoy Brown. I think one of the members was in Savoy Brown, and went out to the States and did very well, particularly this track, Slow Ride. If you're familiar with the computer game Guitar Hero, it's one of the sort of staple tracks. It's a sort of staple of rock radio in America. So there you go. Pleased to have that. I've got it on the album, but to see it in a single, I thought I couldn't say no. Well, I could, but I didn't. I chose not to. Al Green, Shalala Make Me Happy. It was nice to pick up an Al Green single. Changing Tact, Halloween, Dr. Steen. Released in 1988. I think this is from the Keeper of the Seven Keys album, Part 2. The German thrash metal band, lead singer, found he very much like Bruce Dickinson. I always thought he would have been a bit of a shoo-in to replace him when he left Maiden in 93. A couple of singles by this band, Idlewild. This is I'm a Message. This came out in 1998 on the Food label. Sort of at this time, 7-inch singles were sort of like in limited numbers. I do like Idlewild. I thought they were really good. They were sort of like I come out towards the end of Britpop, very sort of indie pop. Then developed more into the folky roots. Roddy Womble, the singer. And there you go. And there's the single from 2005, I think. Love Steals Us From Loneliness. The sound had matured by then. They got to this stage, but still good all the same. A record that It was in a bad state when I found it. I think it was sort of like got it for pennies. Cleaned it up. Doesn't sound better. I will look for a new better copy. The Inmates, The Walk. Inmates R&B sort of band, sort of R&B mod type band, late 70s. I don't think they were tied into the mod revival, but on the Radar label. The Walk was their nearest they had to a big hit. Couple of records from this artist. This is Willie Mason. This is Save Myself and We Can Be Strong. Came out roughly the same time. I should have seen Willie Mason years ago. He was supposed to support Katie Tunstall, and he pulled out right at the last minute. Yeah, it's all right. It's not. I don't hold that against him. The singles are okay. They're not brilliant. The Mojos, and this is Everything's All Right. I don't really know too much about the Mojos. I only knew that I recognised the name. Yeah, and it's a not bad record. Then follow up with again something totally different. This is a bit of a novelty. The Sun Has Got His Hat On by Nemo. Now, this is an old musical take on an old musical song, and it's done in that sort of like 30s style. It's basically put together by Jonathan King, and I didn't know about showing it because he's been one of these people that's been spent time for past offences, unpleasant offences, but I think it might gather the sun is shining as I'm recording this, and it puts a smile on my face. Here we got the Outlaws, Capaldi, and Last Stage West. Outlaws, amongst the people that have been in there, Chaz and Dave. I think Richie Blackmore might have played in them for a while. Mick Underwood, who went on to drum with Gillan, be a drummer with Gillan. I think he passed through their roots. Joe, sort of like a Joe Meek band, and it's entertaining early singles. Here we go. Robert Palmer, Bad Case of Loving You. The original issue on taken from the album Secrets. Good single. At this point, Robert Palmer was more popular in the States than he was in the UK. He was well known, but he couldn't have the hit single. It took him some while before he achieved that. Let me have a quick slurp. Platters, the fabulous Platters. This is an EP on Mercury label. There you go. And you've got songs featured. You've got The Magic Touch, Only You, The Great Pretender, My Prayer. Platters, very popular, late 50s. Pretty Things. This is an EP by them. And it's got here, Don't Bring Me Down. I'm just going to read this. Don't Bring Me Down, Big Boss Man, and then on side 2, Rosalind and We'll Be Together. This is the first bit of Pretty Things I've got on vinyl. Very hard to get hold of their stuff, to be honest. Public Image Limited, Rise. This was a great bit of marketing when they put this out, because you got single, you had CD, cassette, album, as it was known as album. So it featured all sorts of people on the actual record. The B-side is it's just an instrumental version. Queen single that I hadn't got, Spread Your Wings. And B-side, Sheer Heart Attack. And this is something a bit different. The Aching Band, local band on the Big Bear label, which was a Birmingham label, put together by Jim Simpson, the former manager of Black Sabbath. Aching, very much sort of like reggae ska. Chris Rea, whatever, the title track from the Whatever Happened to Benny Santini album. I put it with it because it's on red vinyl. Wasn't a big hit single. He sort of struggled, particularly Full Week You Think It's Over was a big hit for him, but I think it took a while. I mean, it was a big hit for him in the States, and I think he felt uncomfortable with that. Roxy Music, More Than This, which is, I think, the lead single from the Avalon album. Sham 69, If the Kids Are United. Sham 69, I think it was probably their first top 20 single at that point. There we go. 2 records here, same record. Mrs. Robinson, Simon & Garfunkel. This is a promo, not in the best nick. B-side, Old Friends Bookends, a particularly beautiful song. And then an EP, that lead track is Mrs. Robinson. So you've got Mrs. Robinson, April Come She Will, Scarborough Fair, and The Sound of Silence. Almost done, but Simple Minds, Chelsea Girl. This is on the Zoom label, which was released through Arista. It came out in 1979. Really good song. And again, another double single pack. This is Sanctify Yourself, which came out in 1986. So record 1 is Sanctify Yourself, and the B-side's the single. It's the instrumental, and then record 2 is a couple of live tracks. One is the version of Lou Reed's Street Hustle, and then Love Song. This is at the period where Simple Minds were getting up really to their pomp. So we've got just a few more to show. The Tourists Don't Say I Told You So, which is the lead track of their 1980 from released in 1980. This album this came from sort of stiffed, bombed, and it pretty much signalled the end of the Tourists, which meant that Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart could go off and form the Eurythmics the following year. The Tourists, despite that, the Tourists wasn't their vehicle; it was more Pete Coombs' vehicle, and I think he took that badly that they split up, and then they went on to be a big worldwide success, the Eurythmics, and I think he developed a drink problem, which I think eventually finished him off. Ultravox Sleepwalk, the lead single from the Vienna album, released in 1980. This was the first inkling that people had with Midge Ure in the band. Totally different sound to the John Fox era, but a good single. Those early singles, I mean, I think the Vienna album is probably one of the great albums of all time. And the final one on here is Bill Withers' Lean On Me, released on A&M. I couldn't say no to that. Or maybe I should learn to say no to things. So there you go, VC. I hope you like what I showed. I do, as I say, I do love my 7-inch singles. I know there's some bits, I wouldn't call it snobbery. I think people just don't want to keep getting up every 5 minutes. Trick is I just sit in this chair, which is close to my record player, just to change them. But yeah, what the world could do is a dance set revival where you can just pile them all up and just let them drop when we're ready for them. But here you go. I hope that you enjoyed what I showed. Feel free to give it a thumbs up, thumbs down, and leave a comment. I will get back to you. Thank you for the comments on the Toofers. I was really quite pleasantly surprised how that resonated with people. Always great to have that interaction. Yeah, and if you do like the channel, feel free to click on subscribe. No pressure. No, It's purely up to you. So whatever you get up to, VC, make sure you look after yourselves and you have a good time. Take care of yourselves, keep spinning, but more importantly, keep on smiling.